Welcome to Midlife Initiation. I'm David Evans. Today I'm going to be breaking down what is really the core of my book, The Six Masks of Separation that can lead to midlife crisis. Here's the chapter, The Six Masks, a map of the roles we mistake for self. You've been sewing a costume for yourself your whole life. Piece by piece, you've tailored it to suit whatever role life seemed to demand. You've worn it with pride, with purpose, sometimes even with pain. Now and then a thread came loose. You quickly stitched it up. You couldn't risk it unraveling. Maybe around midlife something shifted. The costume no longer fit. What if you take it off and find something ugly? What if you take it off and there's nothing there at all? What if the unraveling reveals everything? It might feel easier to create a new costume, put on a new mask, and maintain that it is your identity, you. But that is the path to midlife crisis. So let the costume unravel. Let the threads fall away. Beneath the rolls, there is something more beautiful. That is midlife initiation. That's what the six masks and the six paths to freedom framework are here to help you see. The six masks describe six archetypal ego patterns, roles we all slip into across different areas of life. They're not inherently bad. In fact, they often come with real benefits. But identities become limiting when you mistake the role for who or what you are. You stop seeing the world as it is and start using it to reinforce your self-image. You see people not as they are, but as characters in your internal script, confirming or threatening the story you're attached to. This isn't about blame or pathology. It's absolutely human to do this. We're wired to find safety and meaning through identity. But when your identity becomes rigid, when propping up your ego feels necessary for your happiness, it starts to erode your aliveness, your flexibility, and your capacity for joy. The Six Paths to Freedom framework will help you remember that you are playing a role. I'm fortunate that Kimberly Rose, my wife, now has a signal that lets me know when my ego gets out of control. Sometimes it doesn't feel good. And sometimes that reminder is enough to loosen the grip. Sometimes it's enough to stop. And sometimes it's a direct line to the joy and connection of real human presence. It's important to go through this midlife initiation, walking these six paths with others, a partner, teacher, therapist, coach, friends. You'll grow together. And you may just be lucky enough to find someone like Kimberly Rose who'll call you on your bullshit. Each of the six masks, hero, god, genius, victim, vampire, and zombie, is described below with popular movie characters as examples. Hero mask. Animated by your desire for triumphant victory, the core belief in the hero mask is that your self-worth must be earned through achievement, attempting to dominate the world and everything in it, striving endlessly. Think Han Solo in Star Wars. Han begins as a self-interested mercenary, embodying the belief that his worth must be earned through making bank. He is a man of action who consistently dominates or takes charge of situations, asserting his competence through his blaster/cock. Han's character arc is a powerful transformation from heroism out of self-interest to service. God mask. Animated by a desire to feel good, to avoid pain, all the time. In the God mask, you identify as above the messiness of negative emotion. So you're untouchable. Your shit doesn't stink. Others might experience you as annoyingly sweet or floating above the real world. Yes, I've been there. Think any cult leader, for example, Osho from the Netflix doco Wild Wild Country. He created an entire community based on his transcendent authority. He was viewed as a perfect, untouchable spiritual being who had achieved enlightenment. This persona placed him above the messiness of emotion, morality, and law, allowing him to fuck every woman in sight and his inner circle to rationalize extreme actions like murder to prop up his god ego. Osho's pursuit of a higher plane was an active strategy to avoid the pain and limitations of ordinary human life. Genius Mask. Animated by the desire to understand how everything works in order to control reality, in the Genius Mask, you over identify with your intellect. You see others as naive or unworthy. You hide from intimacy in verbal thought constructs or analysis. Think Tony Stark, Iron Man. He over identifies with his superior intellect, frequently seeing non geniuses, everyone else, as naive or unworthy of his time. He uses rapid fire, witty, and often dismissive verbal constructs as a shield, especially to avoid vulnerability and any form of intimacy, as seen in his early relationship with Pepper Potts and his conflict with Captain America. His arc is a gradual unraveling of the genius persona as he learns to integrate heart and will with his OP mind. Victim Mask. Animated by a desire for revenge, wearing the victim mask, you cling to a story of that power is external to you. You identify as having been wronged, externalizing blame, lashing out, or desperate to be rescued. Think Jack Torrance as played by Jack Nicholson in The Shining. Jack embodies the feeling of being perpetually wronged and unappreciated, which turns into lashing out rage. He feels powerless in his career, blaming the world and his family for hindering his writing. He constantly externalizes his failure, the block, the job, his lack of respect. The supernatural elements serve as the ultimate external force that he believes is justifying his anger, seeking a rescue from, and revenge upon his painful reality. Vampire Mask. Animated by a desire to fill your sense of lack from the outside, in the Vampire Mask, your story is all about being inadequate. You're desperately hunting or insipidly sycophantic, kind of like AI. Think of the insipid, sycophantic George McFly from Back to the Future. George's entire existence is defined by his feeling of being physically and socially inadequate. Even though he's desperately hunting Lorraine, he second guesses all his desires, like asking Lorraine out or standing up to Biff, paralyzed by the certainty of failure due to his own inadequacy. He believes his strength must come from an outside source, Marty playing Darth Vader. His transformation only occurs when he's forced into a crisis, Biff attacking Lorraine, that unleashes his authentic desire for Lorraine, for love, breaking his established pattern. He becomes a writer, symbolizing the end of his inferiority complex of the mind. Zombie Mask. Driven by a desire to control the world by maintaining the status quo, in the Zombie Mask you tell yourself a story that change is bad. You buffer intimacy through repetitive patterns of behavior. You play small, avoiding change at all cost. Think Edward Norton's narrator in Fight Club before he meets Tyler Durden. He embodies the feeling of playing small and a profound lack of will. His life is an empty, monotonous control loop of consumerism and an unfulfilling corporate job. His chronic insomnia is a perfect metaphor for being mentally overactive but willfully dead. The narrator is so terrified of the major change he needs that he is paralyzed and requires the explosive external force of his alter ego, Tyler Durden, to break him out of the pattern. As we continue to walk together, each of the paths to freedom will be revealed in depth as part of their own dedicated chapters later in this book. All right, next we'll talk about moving from role to reality. Hope the self-awareness was helpful. Awareness is everything.